Okay, I wanted to finish this lecture by having a look at nested conditions, which is actually something very interesting that helps us to write programs, more complicated programs. I found that your textbook doesn't really spend much time in explaining the iteratives and also for example, the nested condition and this kind of stuff, that I thought it's going to be useful to cover them in more details during the videos here, so that you can actually solve the exercises in the textbook easier. So nested conditions. In fact, sometimes we need to check some tests, some conditions, more than one condition. So far, we have seen that how to write one condition. The one thing that you should actually keep in mind is that computer as a primitive actually instruction can check only one condition at a time. Okay, so if you want to check something that involves to test a couple of conditions, you have to either use nested conditions or there is another way that I'm going to talk about and show it to you later as well. So, for example, assume that I'm interested to check some number and check that if the number is greater than 100 and it is also an odd number. And then if it is, or for example, I'm going to print it. Okay, so here there are two things that I need to check. I need to check that the number is greater than 100 and also the number should be an odd number. Okay, so these two conditions, both of them should be true so that I print the number. Otherwise, I don't want to print the number. So one way that I can write down, I can actually check both of these conditions is using the nested loops. Here you can see that I have written one if statement, right? And check that I got the number from the input, for example. You can get the number from the input from anywhere. Okay, and then I'm checking that if the number is greater than 100, if this condition is true, then you can see that there is another if which is inside the other one. That's why we call it nested loops. So all of the loops and the loops and conditions, everything can be combined together. You can have an if statement and then put an iterative statement, a while loop inside that, or you can put an if statement inside a while loop, or you can combine two if statements and write down some nested if statements like here. So the case that this number will be printed is only when this condition is true and this condition is also true. So for example, if the number that the user entered is something like 3 number, if the user, for example, print 3, what would happen? The computer will compare number with 100. Because number is 3, this is not going to be greater than 100, right? So this is going to be false. Because that is false, you will not see this part at all. So the computer will go to the end of the pseudocode and it doesn't going to print anything. So let's just check another value. What if the user entered a number like 106? Okay, so this time again the computer will get the number is 106, right? What will be the value, what will be the result of this condition? Number is greater than 100, right? So this is going to be true. The computer will check the condition. This is true. The computer will go inside and this time checks another condition. This time the condition that I'm checking, that is the number odd or no. I don't want to actually go to the details how the computer can actually check if the number is odd or not, but for the sake of simplicity of this course, just assume that we know how the computer can actually check if the number is odd or no, is odd or even. So 106 is not odd, okay? So the computer will check the condition and will notice that this is false. Okay, so it is false. The computer will not execute this line. The computer will go to the end and it doesn't print anything. Okay, let me actually show you another example. What if the user prints some number like 105? Okay, what would happen in this case? If the user entered 105, again, the computer will come here, check the condition. Number is greater than 100, right? This is true. So the computer will come here and check the next condition. The computer will check if the number 105 is true or false, and is odd or true or false. And yes, 105 is odd. 105 is in fact 3 multiplied by 35. Okay, so this is sorry, this is odd. I was just thinking about the divisible by 3. This is easy to check. This is the number is odd because it ends to actually to a 5. So yes, this is odd. This is true. So now the computer will go inside the inner loop, so you can see that this one was true and this one should be also true, and then at the end the number 105 will be printed in the output. So this is the way that the computer deal with the nested conditions. Another way to write down these two conditions, when you are combining two conditions in this way, another way to do it is just using some logical operator that I can write it down using an AND. So you are telling the computer that, again, the computer has to check both of the conditions, has to check this condition and also this condition. And you see that you put AND in between them. So you are saying telling the computer that, okay, check this condition first. This one should be true and this one should be as well true, and then the computer will actually print the number. If any of them is false, if this one is false or this one is false, the computer will just escape and doesn't execute this line. Okay, so if I wanted to show it to you through a flow chart, this is going to be something like this, that the computer will start here, then it will get a value from the user, then compare it to 100. Is it greater than 100? If true, it actually comes here. If not, you can see that it actually goes to the end. If it is true, then it needs to check another condition. It will check if n is odd or not. If n is odd, if it is true, it comes here and print the value. Otherwise, if it is not, it goes to the end of the execution. Okay, so when you are actually writing the nested conditions, the computer needs to calculate a couple of a combination of conditions. Okay, let's do some fun examples here. So now the question here is that I have a pseudocode, right? And I wanted to know that in which of these cases the message you got it will be executed. Where is in the pseudocode? This is actually this line. I'm interested to know that which of these values will be resulted in printing you got it. Okay, so the pseudocode tells me that get the number from the user. So the number can be this one, this one, this one, or this one. So the best thing for me is that just check that what would happen in each of these cases. If I have 110, if I entered 110, the computer will actually get the number and compare it with 10, right? Is it greater than 10? Yes, 120 is greater than that. So this condition is going to be true. And then the computer will go and check this condition. is this condition true? Is the number less than 50? No, the condition is going to be false, right? So the computer will not execute this one. The computer will actually go and execute the else part, this part. In this case, the computer will print you missed it. So what about 35? So again, the computer got 35, then it compares it to 10. This condition, again, this is true, right? And actually we check compare the 35 here with 50. Is it less than 50? Yes, this one is also true. Okay, so yes, you got will be actually printed in this case. 35 is going to be the answer. But to be actually complete, let's see that what would happen in this case and in this case. If the user entered 0, what will be actually the result of this condition, checking this condition? Is it going to be true? No, the number is 0 is less than 10, right? So this is going to be false. So what would happen? In this case, the computer will just go out of the loop and it, in fact, doesn't print anything, okay? So in the case of 0, it doesn't print anything. How about in the case of 73? For the case of 73, again, the computer actually gets 73 here, then compare it with this condition. The number is greater than 10, so yes, this condition is true. How about this condition? Is it true? The number is not less than 50, so no, this condition is going to be false. So again, for the case of 73, this message will be printed. So again, this one is going to print you missed it. So the correct answer was 35. But one thing that I will understand here is that this code is going to only print you got it whenever the number that the user entered is greater than 100 and less than 50. So the value, the number that has been entered should be between 10 and 50. This is something that I can actually understand from the code. Okay, how about this code? This is a little bit different. This is more complicated because I have two else's. One else, this one has been actually associated to this one, and this else has been associated to this one, right? I mean, this indentation that you can see is just telling you that which one is associated to which one. So again, here I am interested to see that which of these values will be resulted to printing you got it. This is something that I'm interested here. Okay, if the value that has been entered, let's, instead of actually looking at the answers, let's just try to understand what the code does. The code will check the number with 100. If it is less than or equal to 100, it will actually just go and check this condition. Otherwise, so if the number is greater than 100, this part will be executed. So not interesting will be executed whenever number is greater than 100. Okay, so by this fact, I know that this one is not going to be the answer because 150 will result in not interesting. Okay. The other thing that I understand from the code is that if the number is less than 100, I will actually go and check the condition, right? This condition checking that if the number is less than 50. So if the number is less than 50, only in that case, the you got it will be printed. So if the number is less than 50. So it is less than 50, it means that it is also less than 100. So in which case you missed it will be printed? If the number, this one is true, but this condition is false. So whenever the number is less than or equal to 100 but greater than or equal to 50, this condition will be this statement will be printed. Okay, so now I can actually just analyze all of this. This is going to be the correct answer for this case. This is exactly when the number is less than 50. And how about this one? Which actually a statement will be printed in this case? 73 is exactly this condition, when the number is greater than 50 and less than 100. So in this case, you missed it will be printed. How about 100? What would happen if the user entered 100? If the user entered 100, this condition again is going to be true, right? And this condition is going to be false. This is exactly the same as 73. So this one will also result in you missed it. But the correct answer is going to be 12. So this example is, the pseudocode is exactly like the previous example, but the thing is I'm looking for the case that not interesting will be executed. So far we have actually learned that not interesting will be executed when this condition is false, right? You can see that this else is associated to that. So whenever this condition is false, this statement will be executed. So this is which number is greater than 100? The only number which is greater than 100 is 150. This is going to be the correct answer. Okay, how about this one? This one, you can see that it is a little bit different, because you can see that if the condition is true, this statement will be executed. If the condition is false, we are going to check another statement. This statement, this if-else statement, is inside the else. So whenever the condition here is false, you come here and check this one. So in this case, we are interested in, again, you missed it. So we are interested in this statement. We wanted to see that when this statement will be executed, right? You missed it. So the first thing that we understand is that if we want to reach to the else statement, the condition should be, this condition should be false. So the first thing to know is that the number should be less than or equal to 100 to come to this else part. Okay, this is the first thing that you have to check. So of course, this one is not going to be the answer, and but all of the other three can be the answer so far. The other thing to reach to this else part is that this condition should be also false, right? Because if it is true, this part will be executed, but this one should be false as well. So the number should be greater than, not only should be less than or equal to 100, but also it should be greater than or equal to 50. Okay, so in that case you will reach to this statement, which actually value is greater than 50 and less than, greater than or equal to 50 and less than 100, less than or equal to 100. Okay, I can now see that both of these two answers are correct. This one and this one, both of them are actually satisfying. When I was first designing the example, I was not going to write down, an example that both of these two are the answers. But anyway, I just noticed that, the conditions that I wrote here are going to actually make both 100 and 73 the correct answer in this case. So in your quizzes, if you got a question as a multiple choice, definitely just one of them is going to be the correct answer, don't worry. But if you get multiple answer, so it is an option that you can have more than one correct answer. So be careful about the type of the question. If it is multiple choice, just one answer. If it is multiple answer, just a couple of them can be the answer. It's not clear. Okay, this I have actually two more questions here for you. Get the value of n. This actually questions, these if statements are some logical, the combination of the conditions. Instead of writing them as nested conditions, I have used the and. So if n is greater than 10, and if n is less than 50, you got it, will be executed. So this one, I believe it's much easier, right? If the value of n is greater than 10 and it is less than 50, it means that it is just between 10 and 50. So which value is going to be the correct answer? 15 is going to be the correct answer, right? So this is the only one which is greater than 10 but less than 50. Here 50 is not going to be the answer, right? Because 50 is not less than or equal to 50. This one makes it false. Okay, 50 is not less than 50. 50 is equal to 50. Okay, and the last example that I have here is just checking n, comparing n to 10 and comparing it to 50, and say that, okay, I'm looking for the answer that makes, would the result would cause that this message will be printed, you missed it, will be printed. So the number that will actually cause this statement to be printed means that this one or this one of them should be actually false, right? Or both of them can be actually false. So n should be either less than 10, less than or equal to 10, or n should be greater than or equal to 50. So which number actually makes it correct? This is the correct answer. So if the value of n is equal to 50, this part will be false, right? And so it actually comes here and prints this statement. All of the other numbers here are going to be between 10 and 50, and all of them will keep both of the conditions true. Okay, so 50 is going to be the answer. Okay, this is going to cover section 2.2. I thought I should have spent more time on this section because your textbook doesn't really spend much time explaining the loop and iterative conditions properly.